Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children could have become a full-fledged franchise, but a second movie never happened. Directed by Tim Burton, the fantasy film adapted the eponymous best-selling book by Ransom Riggs, which is the first in a series. The novel gained attention before it was published, with studios grabbing screen rights early in its production. The movie ended with the titular children leaving for another place to live after their home was destroyed. This opened the door for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children too. The film did fairly well at the box office, grossing almost $300 million with only a $110 million budget, via Box Office Mojo. However, it received mixed reviews. In true Tim Burton fashion, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children pulled out all the stops visually and thematically, captivating audiences with its dramatic effects. However, those effects weren't enough to compensate for the lackluster plot. There were high hopes after Burton took on the directing role, and though it is far from his worst film, his reputation wasn't enough to warrant studios producing a Miss Peregrine sequel. Why Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children didn't get a sequel? Eva Green with a crossbow in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Despite nearly doubling its production cost in ticket sales, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children didn't quite make it by Hollywood standards. It made $28.9 million at the box office during its opening weekend, and though that was above projection, it was a mediocre start given its extensive budget. There were high expectations for the film, but as its Rotten Tomatoes score of 64% demonstrates, it fell short of them. The Hollywood bust was hit with criticism from critics and general audiences alike. With its SOSO earnings, this slashed its chance at a franchise. Unlike movies today, the movie also didn't have the benefit of streaming or digital sales to boost perception of it right away. Word of mouth didn't spread enough for the movie to gain traction with audiences, and it's unlikely a sequel for the movie would be made following its 2016 release at this point. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is far from Tim Burton's worst movie. Tim Burton speaking over an image of his cameo in Miss Peregrine's movie. Although Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children wasn't a big enough hit to warrant a sequel, it fared pretty well compared to several other Tim Burton movies. Known for his gothic visuals and dark subject matter, the prolific filmmaker has had his fair share of flops. Whether due to poor box office openings or poor reception, some movies that consistently make Burton's worst movie lists include Alice in Wonderland, Mars Attack, and Planet of the Apes. Even with the mixed reviews for some of his films, it's impossible to deny his effect on pop culture and his iconic style. While Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children didn't quite make the cut for franchise success, it was still a loved film among some fans of the book. The project's mediocre reception was nothing new for Burton, but it held its own against other additions to his filmmaking portfolio. While it's unlikely Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children 2 will ever happen, fans can continue the series in novel format, as Ransom Riggs has written 8 books set in this world. There is a sequel novel that would be perfect to adapt. Though there are several books in the Peculiar series, it would be most logical to adapt the next novel in the series as a sequel. Hollow City is the second novel in the series, and it picks up not long after the novel ends. At this point, if the novel were to be adapted for the screen, it would require recasting or a significant time jump instead, allowing the characters to age before they enter another time loop, which would still allow the broad strokes of the novel to play out.